The morning started quiet, almost too quiet. The kind of silence that feels heavy, like it's holding its breath. I was sitting by the window with my coffee, watching sunlight stretch across the living room floor. My late wife, Mary, used to love mornings like this. She'd hum some old country tune while watering her plants, and the whole house would come alive. Now it was just me and her photograph on the mantel. Then I heard it. Laughter. Loud, careless laughter echoing through my hallway. The kind of sound that doesn't belong in a house built on memories. The front door burst open before I could even stand. Ethan, my son-in-law, strode in like a movie star making an entrance. Behind him were two of his friends, carrying beer cans and arrogance. "Hey, Frank, thought we'd hang here for a bit. Claire said you wouldn't mind," Ethan said, tossing his jacket on the couch. Mind? He didn't even look at me when he said it. He was scanning the living room, grinning, nodding at my wife's photo like it was some decoration. My grip on the coffee cup tightened. "This isn't a bar, Ethan," I said quietly. "Don't just walk in here without knocking." He turned, smirk still plastered across his face. "Relax, old man. You'll get used to it. Claire and I are family now. This house will be ours soon enough." The words hit me harder than I expected. Ours soon enough. His friends chuckled. One of them even dropped a beer can on the floor. I could feel my pulse in my ears. "Pick that up," I said sharply. But they just laughed louder. Ethan raised his hands like a peace gesture. "Easy, Frank. You're too uptight. We'll clean up. Right, boys?" They didn't. When they finally left, the smell of cheap beer lingered like poison in the air. I stood in the doorway long after the sound of their car faded, staring at the shoe prints they'd left on my wife's carpet. And somewhere deep inside me, something cracked. That night, I sat by the window again. Mary's photo reflected the lamplight, her smile frozen in time. "Did you hear him?" I whispered. He said this house would be as soon. A gust of wind rattled the window pane. Maybe it was nothing, or maybe she was answering me. Either way, I knew one thing. If Ethan thought he could walk into my home and claim it as his, he was about to learn what it truly meant to trespass on a man's peace. "Mine soon?" The words echoed in my head long after the door slammed behind him. I spent the next few days cleaning up after their visit. Beer stains on the rug, crumbs on the table, one broken coaster from Mary's set. I could almost hear her voice scolding me for letting strangers rule her home. Every inch of this place held her touch. The floral curtain she picked, the oak shelf she begged me to build, the faint smell of lavender that never truly left the hallway. She was gone, but her presence was stronger than ever. And then there was Claire, my daughter. She came by that evening, holding a bag of groceries like a peace offering. "Dad, Ethan told me you were upset," she said carefully. "He didn't mean anything. You know how he is." I didn't answer right away. I just stared at her. The same brown eyes her mother had, but softer. We hadn't argued much since the funeral. Until Ethan came into the picture. "Claire, he doesn't respect this house," I said. "Or you." Her shoulders tensed. "Dad, please. He's just trying to make you comfortable. You're alone. Maybe he thinks, I'm not alone." I cut her off. "I have your mother's memory. That's enough." She looked away, biting her lip. I wanted to reach out, to tell her I wasn't angry, just hurt. But the wall between us was already there, and Ethan was the one who built it brick by brick. Later that night, I passed by her car in the driveway. Her phone was on the seat, buzzing with notifications. I didn't mean to look, but one message caught my eye. "Ethan, don't worry. Once he's gone, we'll flip the property. Easy money." My chest tightened. Once he's gone. Gone? Was that what I was now, an obstacle? A loose end to clear out before the sale? I walked back inside, the house suddenly colder. The same home that had been my comfort for decades now felt like it was watching me, listening, waiting for me to do something. I sat in my chair, staring at the framed picture of Mary again. "They want the house, sweetheart," I whispered. "Our home." Outside, the wind rose again, brushing against the windows like a whisper. And somewhere in that sound, I thought I heard her voice. "Then don't let them take it." I closed my eyes and made a silent promise. Ethan thought I was weak, but he had no idea who he was dealing with. A few days passed, and I tried to bury myself in routine. Coffee, walk, newspaper, silence. But peace doesn't return once it's been shattered. It lingers in fragments, sharp enough to cut you every time you move. One morning, the doorbell rang. It was Mr. Wallace, my lawyer, an old friend from my factory days. He handed me an envelope and said softly, "Just the updated will, Frank. I figured you want to keep it safe." After he left, I sat at the dining table staring at the cream-colored envelope, heavy with meaning. Inside were the official papers, the property deed, insurance documents, and what I'd written right after Mary died. Originally, I planned for Claire to inherit everything one day. The house, the savings, even Mary's jewelry. She was my only child, my world. But now, I wasn't sure if she even saw me as her father anymore. That evening, I found Ethan sitting in the living room again. He had a glass of whiskey in his hand and a smug grin on his face. Claire was beside him, quiet, avoiding my eyes. "Hey, Frank," he said casually. "We were just talking about the house. Claire thinks you should start thinking long-term, you know? Maybe move into a smaller place. Something more your size." I froze. "My size?" Ethan leaned forward. "You've done enough, sir. Maybe it's time to let us take care of things. You could sign the property over now. Save everyone the paperwork later." Claire's eyes flicked toward me, guilt written all over her face. "Dad, he's just—" But I raised my hand. Don't defend him." Ethan chuckled, swirling the ice in his glass. "Come on, Frank. You're what, 60? You can't handle a big place like this forever. Think of it as planning ahead." My blood boiled. I could almost hear Mary's voice telling me to keep calm, but calm was gone. "Ethan," I said, my voice low, "this house has been in my family for 40 years. It's not just a property. It's where my wife took her last breath." He smiled. "Then it's time to move on, old man." That was it. That's when the decision solidified in my heart like concrete. I didn't shout. I didn't argue. I simply stood up, folded the papers, and walked toward my study. Behind me, I heard him mutter something under his breath about old fools and wasted space. That night, I took out the will again. Under the desk lamp, Mary's photo watched me as I slowly tore it in half. "You were right, Mary." I whispered, "It's time for a new plan." My hands trembled, not from age, but from fury. It happened on a Friday night. The kind of night that pretends to be peaceful until it isn't. I'd gone out for groceries. When I came home, I heard music before I even stepped inside. Loud, thumping bass, laughter, voices. I pushed the door open. My heart dropped. There were at least 6 people in my living room. Glasses, beer bottles, smoke hanging in the air. Ethan was at the center of it all, laughing, dancing with one of his friends like it was his personal club. And there, near the fireplace, lay Mary's vase, shattered across the floor. The same vase she'd bought on our anniversary. I stood frozen for a moment. The music was loud, but my heartbeat was louder. "Turn it off," I said. Nobody heard me. Or maybe they did and didn't care. "Turn it off." The room fell silent. Ethan turned, annoyed. "Relax, Frank. It's just a few friends." "Friends?" I looked around. "You brought strangers into my home without permission? You broke her things." He laughed, picking up a shard of glass and tossing aside. "You really need to move past your wife's ghost, old man." The words hit me like a slap. My jaw tightened. "Get out, all of you." Ethan stepped closer, towering over me. His friends exchanged looks, waiting. "Frank, you need to calm down before you hurt yourself," he said mockingly. I said, "Get out." I reached for the speaker to unplug it, and that's when it happened. He shoved me. Hard. I stumbled back, nearly falling over the table. My shoulder hit the wall, pain shooting through me. The room went silent. For a second, all I could hear was a faint hum of the music still fading in the background. Claire had been standing near the doorway. She didn't move, didn't say a word. "Claire," I said quietly, "did you see what he just did?" She looked at me, eyes glassy. Dad, please just let it go. Let it go. Those words burned more than the pain in my shoulder. Ethan gave a short laugh. See? Even she thinks you're being dramatic. You're lucky I didn't call someone to take you to a home already. For a moment, I wanted to hit him, but instead, I straightened my back, met his gaze, and smiled. It wasn't a friendly smile. It was a kind of smile that says, "You have no idea what you just started." I turned, walked to the front door, and without a word, left the house. That night, I checked into a small roadside motel 2 towns over. The wallpaper was peeling. The air smelled like cigarettes. But I finally had something I hadn't felt in months. Clarity. I took out my phone and scrolled through old contacts until I found a name I hadn't dialed in years. Henry Carter, my old business partner. The one man who knew exactly how to make people regret crossing me. When he answered, his voice was low and steady. "Frank? Been a long time." "Yeah," I said, "and it's about time I make things right." The plan for revenge began that very night, with one phone call. I spent the next 2 nights in that dim motel room, staring at the cracked ceiling and thinking about every mistake that had led me here. The hum of the old fridge was the only sound keeping me company. Funny, isn't it? You spend your life building something solid, a home, a family, a legacy, and in the end, it's the people you love who take the hammer to it. But grief is a strange thing. Once you've already lost everything once, you stop fearing loss. When I finally called Henry again, he didn't sound surprised. "So," he said, "this about that son-in-law you told me about?" "Yeah," I replied quietly. "He's not just disrespectful. He's planning to take my house. Flip it for money once I'm gone." There was a pause, then a low whistle. Sounds like he picked the wrong man to cross. "What do you want me to do?" "I don't want him hurt," I said. "I just want him to feel powerless, like he made me feel." Henry chuckled. "Power's not taken with fists anymore, Frank. It's taken with paperwork." Those words stuck with me. He told me about a few city inspectors, an old contact in the zoning office, and a real estate agent who owed him a favor. "We'll start there," he said. "Just trust me." The next morning, I shaved, put on my old gray suit, and looked at myself in the mirror. I didn't see a broken man anymore. I saw someone who'd spent a lifetime being fair, and was finally done with it. When I returned home that afternoon, the air felt heavier. The driveway was full, Ethan's cars, friends' cars, even Claire's SUV. I stood at the gate, just watching. Music again. Laughter. The sound that used to hurt me now just fueled me. I waited until the next day to go inside. Ethan looked shocked when he saw me standing in the doorway. "Frank," he said, forcing a laugh, "didn't think you'd come back so soon." "I'm not here to fight," I said calmly. "You're right. I've been too uptight. Maybe I should let go." That caught him off guard. He grinned slowly, suspiciously. "You mean you're letting us handle things now?" "Something like that," I said, hiding the papers Henry had helped me prepare in my coat pocket. Claire came in, relief washing over her face. "Dad, thank you. I knew you'd come around." I smiled faintly. "Don't thank me yet." That evening, I made dinner for them. Ethan drank like a man celebrating a victory he didn't earn. He had no idea that the trap was already being set. Quietly, legally, and perfectly. That night, when they were asleep, I sat alone in the kitchen, staring at the blank real estate inspection forms Henry had sent over. Ethan wanted this house to be his playground. Soon it would become his prison. The quiet before revenge is the loudest silence you'll ever hear. Revenge doesn't always come with a gun or a fight. Sometimes it's a signature on a line no one bothers to read. Over the next few weeks, I played my role perfectly. The tired, forgiving father-in-law. I stopped arguing. I smiled when Ethan mocked me. I even offered him my study to handle his work. And that's exactly where I left the bait. One afternoon, I placed a set of official-looking documents on my desk. Property renovation authorization, printed neatly across the top. Henry's contacts had helped me make them look convincing. They weren't illegal, just misleading. Ethan walked by, saw them, and couldn't resist. "What's this, Frank?" "City paperwork," I said, casually, "If you're still serious about improving the place, you might as well handle it. I'm too old for the details." He grinned, snatching the pen before I even offered. "Don't mind if I do." He signed, laughing, thinking it made him part owner of the renovation plan. What he didn't realize was that the signature authorized inspection access under his name, not mine. From that point, every noise complaint, every zoning violation, every unapproved fixture he touched, all of it legally fell on him. Henry's contact in the zoning department filed the first complaint the next week. Then the next. Then the next. By the third visit, Ethan was sweating. "What's going on, Frank? Why are these inspectors here?" I shrugged, sipping my coffee. "You're the one who signed the paperwork." "Ethan, didn't you read it?" He glared at me. "You tricked me." I met his eyes calmly. "No, you tricked yourself by thinking you were smarter than me." Claire came running down the stairs, waving another notice from the city. "Ethan, we're being fined again. They said it's under your name." He tore the paper in half. "This is insane. They can't—" "Oh, they can," I interrupted softly. "And they will." For the first time, Ethan didn't have a comeback. The swagger was gone. The confidence replaced by something else, fear. Henry called that evening, voice steady as always. Phase 1 complete. He's officially on record for multiple code violations. Next step? Let him drown in his own pride. I said, "We'll tighten the noose later." For the first time in months, I slept peacefully. The next morning, Ethan stormed into the kitchen, waving the latest letter. "You think this scares me, Frank? I've got money. I'll fix this." "Money can't fix stupidity," I said without looking up. He slammed his fist on the counter. "You're going to regret this." I finally looked up and smiled. "No, Ethan, you will." He didn't know it yet, but by signing that paper, he'd already handed me his downfall in ink. The house that once echoed with laughter now vibrated with tension. Ethan's friends had stopped visiting. No more loud music, no more beer cans on my lawn. The man who once walked around like he owned everything now avoided eye contact with the neighbors. It started small. The city posted a bright orange notice on the gate. "Property under investigation." Then another letter arrived, this time about tax irregularities. Henry had made sure every stone Ethan turned exposed another hidden mess. Ethan paced around the living room. Phone pressed his ear. "What do you mean I'm liable? The old man lives here, not me." He slammed the phone down, muttering curses. I watched from the doorway, pretending to be confused. "Something wrong, Ethan?" "Don't play dumb, Frank. These people are bleeding me dry. I'm not paying a dime." "You should have read the fine print," I said calmly. "Ownership comes with responsibility." He glared at me, chest heaving. "You think this is funny?" "No," I said softly, "but it's fair." Claire tried to mediate, but Ethan's frustration was spilling over. He snapped at her for the smallest things, threw blame like daggers, and stormed out for hours. That's when I noticed a change in my daughter's eyes. Fear replacing faith. One evening, she came to my room. Her voice trembled. "Dad, what's happening? Ethan says the house could be taken. Is that true?" I looked at her gently. "Nothing will happen to you. You'll be fine. Just trust me." "Did you do something?" I smiled faintly. "No, sweetheart. I just stopped being the fool." She didn't understand. Not yet. But she would. The next week, Ethan's business partner visited. A tall man in a sharp blue suit. They argued in the driveway, voices sharp as knives. "You lied, Ethan. You said the property was clean. Now it's flagged. We can't use it for anything." "Relax. It's temporary. Temporary? You just tanked the deal. We're done." When the man drove off, Ethan threw his phone against the wall. I watched quietly from the porch, sipping my tea. That moment, that raw collapse of arrogance, was worth every sleepless night I'd endured. But I wasn't finished. The city notices were just the start. Henry had already begun phase 2, pushing the audit that would tie Ethan's fake signatures to other deals. I knew the day was coming when Ethan would snap completely. And when he did, I'd be waiting. Revenge doesn't shout. It whispers while your enemy digs his own grave. It was Friday night when Claire insisted we have dinner together. Like old times. I agreed, even though I knew what was coming. She wanted peace. I wanted closure. I cooked roast chicken, mashed potatoes, and her favorite apple pie. For once, Ethan showed up early, wearing a forced smile. Trying to make up for all the trouble. "Huh, Frank?" he said, eyeing the food. Something like that. I replied, carving the meat with calm precision. For a while, the table was silent except for the clinking of forks. Claire looked between us, desperate for normalcy. "Maybe we can all start over," she said quietly. "Let's just stop fighting. Please." Ethan chuckled dryly. "I'll start over when your father learns his place." That did it. I set the knife down and met his eyes. "My place, Ethan? You mean the house I built? The one you're trying to steal?" He leaned back, smirking. "Steal? You're delusional, old man. This house was never yours alone. Claire and I are the future. You're just temporary." Claire gasped. "Ethan!" I smiled faintly. "You're right. I am temporary. But before I go, I like to leave things tidy." His brow furrowed. "What does that mean?" Right then, headlights flashed outside. 2 cars stopped by the driveway. City officials stepped out, followed by Henry, dressed in a crisp black jacket. Ethan's fork froze midair. "What the hell is this?" Henry stepped inside calmly. "Mr. Collins, we're here to finalize the audit regarding your unauthorized construction filings and code violations. You'll need to come with us." Ethan's face went pale. "This is a mistake." "I didn't." Henry pulled out a folder and dropped it on the table. Ethan's signature, page after page, all under his name. "Seems you did," Henry said dryly. Claire stood up, eyes wide with betrayal. "Ethan, is this true?" "No. He's framing me. I didn't sign anything." "You did," I said quietly. "In my study. Remember? The renovation forms?" His mouth opened, but no words came. Henry continued, "You'll have to answer these charges downtown, sir." Ethan turned on me, eyes blazing. "You set me up." "No," I said evenly. "You walked into a house that wasn't yours and signed your downfall with your own hand." For a moment, everything froze, the hum of the lights, the smell of the roast, the tension thick as smoke. Then Ethan lunged. But Henry's men stepped in, holding him back as he screamed curses that echoed to the hallways my wife once filled with laughter. Claire stood trembling, tears falling. "Dad, what have you done?" I looked at her softly. "What he taught me. Never let anyone take your home again." Ethan was dragged outside, shouting threats that meant nothing anymore. When the door closed, silence returned, heavy, final, almost sacred. Claire stared at the door, then at me. "You destroyed him." I sighed. "No, sweetheart. He destroyed himself. I just showed him the mirror." I looked around the room. The family portraits, the warm lights, the memories that once felt tainted. Now they felt clean. The storm had passed, but the damage it left behind was far from over. The next morning, the neighborhood buzzed with whispers. The man who once strutted around bragging about his future inheritance was now headline material. Local businessmen arrested for fraud and property violations. His face was everywhere, TV, social media, even the morning paper left at my gate. I sat on the porch with my coffee, the same way I did every morning. Except this time the air felt cleaner. The storm had cleared. Claire didn't speak to me for 3 days. I knew she needed time. What I'd done wasn't easy to understand. I hadn't just taken revenge. I dismantled the man she thought she loved. When she finally came, she looked broken. She stood at the doorway, arms crossed, eyes red. "Dad, they're saying Ethan could face 5 years, maybe more." "He'll face what he earned," I said quietly. "You planned all of this, didn't you?" I didn't answer right away. I just looked at her, the same daughter who once ran to me with scraped knees, now staring like I was a stranger. I did what I had to. I said finally, "He was going to sell this place, Claire. Our memories, your mother's legacy. Would you rather I watch it burn?" She looked down, trembling. You could have just told me. I tried, I said, voice breaking. You didn't want to hear it. For the first time, her anger cracked. I saw a guilt flicker in her eyes. He said he loved me, she whispered. He loved ownership. I replied. You were just part of the deal. Tears rolled down her face. You ruined him, Dad. I set my coffee down, stood, and walked to her slowly. No, Claire. He ruined himself when he walked through that door and thought everything I built was his. She didn't respond, just turned and walked out into the fading light. That night, I sat by Mary's photo again. I did it, sweetheart. I murmured. He's gone. The house is safe. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was heavy. I protected everything we built. But at what cost? The next morning, I received a letter from Ethan's attorney. A single line stood out in bold. Mr. Collins requests one final meeting before sentencing. The man I destroyed wanted to see me. And for the first time, I didn't know if I wanted to face him. The jail visitation room was colder than I expected. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, and the smell of bleach clung to the air. Ethan sat across from me, wearing the same arrogance, but stripped of its shine. His eyes were tired, his voice rough. You must be proud of yourself, he said. You got everything you wanted. I met his gaze evenly. I wanted peace. He laughed bitterly. Peace? You destroyed me for peace? You did that yourself, I said quietly. I just stopped helping you hide it. He leaned forward, jaw tight. You think this ends with me behind bars? Claire hates you. You'll die alone in that house, talking to your wife's ghost. The word stung more than I expected, but I didn't flinch. Maybe, I said softly, but at least I'll die with a clear conscience. He sneered. You call that conscience? You trapped me. I sighed. No, Ethan. I showed you the difference between a home and a house. You never cared for either. For a moment, he went silent, then looked down, his voice softer. You know, I really thought I could win. I thought if I had the house, I'd finally matter. You could have mattered without taking from others, I said. But greed doesn't share walls. It devours them. He didn't respond. The guard signaled our time was up. As I stood to leave, he spoke again, quieter this time. Tell Claire, I'm sorry. I paused at the door, turned back once. Tell her yourself when you've earned it. Outside, the air felt crisp, cleaner than it had in years. Days passed. Claire came again. This time, no anger, just exhaustion and sadness. She sat beside me on the porch where the story had begun. He called me, she said. He apologized. I nodded. Good. He said you were right. About everything. Silence hung between us for a moment before she added, I don't know if I can forgive him, but I'm trying to forgive you. That broke me. I turned to her slowly. You don't have to forgive me, sweetheart. Just understand why I did it. She looked at me with tears in her eyes. I think I do now. The sun was setting behind the trees, spilling gold across the porch. For the first time in months, the house didn't feel haunted anymore. You know, she said, smiling faintly, Mom would have been proud. Maybe not how you did it, but that you didn't let him win. I chuckled softly. Your mother never liked to lose. We sat in silence, watching the light fade. As night fell, I whispered into the quiet. If you were in my place, what would you have done? Tell me in the comments. Because revenge isn't clean. It doesn't heal you. It just makes sure no one ever wounds you the same way again. And sometimes that's enough. My son-in-law invaded my home, but in the end he learned one truth. You can't steal peace from a man who's already lost everything.